Imagine the Atlantic roaring against black cliffs. A narrow galley slices through the spray. At the bow stands a woman with wind-tangled hair and iron in her eyes. She raids when it suits her, bargains when it profits her, and sails home to rule her coast. She is Gráinne Mhaol, Grace O'Malley, the Pirate Queen of Ireland. And one day she'll walk into the court of Queen Elizabeth I and negotiate, blade tucked in her dress, like an equal. This is the true story behind the legend, how a chieftain's daughter became the most formidable sea power on Ireland's west coast. Gráinne was born around 1530 on the shores of County Mayo into the O'Mahony clan. Sailors, traders, and when necessary outlaws. The sea was their road and their fortress. As a child she begged to sail with her father. The story says she cut her hair short so no one could stop her, Mhaol, the Shorn. Whether that tale is literal or not, the nickname stuck, and so did the life it described. From a young age, she learned the tides, the winds, and the language of deals hammered out on a rolling deck. She understood that the coast itself could be a weapon, hidden inlets, treacherous reefs, fog that could swallow a fleet and hand it back to you one ship at a time. In her teens she married Donal and Chugaid O'Flaherty, Donal of the Battles, a match binding two powerful coastal clans. While Donal chased feuds ashore, Gráinne built influence at sea, running cargo, escorting merchants for a fee, and collecting dues from any ship that used her waters. Then Donal was killed in a skirmish. Rivals moved in on his strongholds. Gráinne didn't fold, she fought. She gathered men loyal to her, took command of O'Flaherty galleys, and defended what she considered hers. From that point, she stopped asking permission. She was not the consort of a leader, she was the leader. But the ocean wasn't her only battlefield. The Tudor state was tightening its grip on Ireland. New governors arrived with new taxes and new laws that ignored Gaelic customs. Gráinne's world, local lords, sea tolls, shifting alliances, collided with an empire that preferred paperwork, sheriffs and fortresses. To survive, she did what she always did. She adapted. Sometimes she paid, sometimes she fought. And sometimes she offered the English an arrangement cheaper than war. Let her manage the coast and the sea would be quiet. Refuse and it might not be. Around midlife she married again, Richard in Iron Bourke, a tactical alliance with a neighbouring power. There's a famous story that their marriage was contracted for 1 year certain. When the year ended, Gráinne allegedly barred the castle gate and called down from the wall, "I dismiss you," keeping the property. Legend? Maybe, but it captures a truth. She negotiated relationships, personal and political, the same way she negotiated the sea. If a harbour was safe, she entered. If not, she cut the lines. Let's talk tactics. Gráinne didn't rely on hulking warships. She preferred long, shallow draft galleys, perfect for Ireland's jagged coast. They could beach on a scrap of sand, vanish into a creek, or outrun a deep-keeled carrack when the tide turned. She levied protection money on merchants, a coast security fee, and in return ships passed safely. Refuse and your cargo might go missing, your rigging mysteriously cut in the night. On different days, she was smuggler, privateer, rescuer, and raider, depending on the weather and on who was telling the story. Her most dangerous enemy became Sir Richard Bingham, the hardline English governor of Connaught. He called her a nurse to all rebellions, seized her cattle, impounded her ships and arrested her family. Gráinne answered with the weapon the English respected most, a petition. She would sail east, away from her cliffs and coves, straight toward the heart of power. In 1593, Gráinne Mhaol met Queen Elizabeth I in London. Two women rulers face to face, while men who underestimated them waited at the edges of the room. Tradition says Gráinne refused to bow because she didn't recognize Elizabeth as Queen of Ireland. She carried a knife, confiscated, then returned because the seas are never safe. Lacking a common interpreter they trusted, the two spoke in Latin. Gráinne described Bingham's oppression and demanded the release of her captured son and kinsman. Elizabeth listened, papers were signed, conditions were set. For a time, Gráinne's rights to her property and her trade were restored. It was not romance or surrender, it was business, done at the highest level, between two leaders who knew exactly what power looked like. The 1590s were a storm for Ireland, the 9 Years' War. Gráinne navigated this conflict as she navigated everything else, pragmatically. Sometimes she supplied English forces for pay, sometimes she protected her own against everyone. Her priority was constant, her clan, her coast, her ships. Even in her 60s she sailed in rough weather, commanding respect from men who had grown old under her orders. She understood better than most that survival is a strategy. You cannot rule the sea by ideology. You rule it by tide tables, sharp eyes, and the ability to change course a minute after the wind does. So who was she really? Pirate? Yes, when the moment demanded it. But also a chieftain, a businesswoman, a diplomat, a mother, a survivor. The English called her a rebel. Her people called her a protector. The truth lives between those labels. She exploited the edges of an empire, turned local knowledge into power, and refused to accept the role the world tried to give her. When she died, around 1603, the same year Elizabeth I passed, the Atlantic kept rolling in. But the coast of Mayo had learned to speak with a woman's voice. Walk that shoreline today and you can still find her stone towers weathering the spray, her name in ballads, her story in classrooms. She inspires because she makes the impossible look practical. Command a fleet without a navy, run a government without a parliament, negotiate with a queen without a crown. She is a reminder that leadership isn't a title. It's the courage to stand on the bow when the sea is against you, to choose when to raid, when to bargain, and when to sail straight into the court of your enemy and win. If you enjoyed sailing with Gráinne Mhaol, Ireland's pirate queen, give this video a like. It really helps more people find the channel. Tell me in the comments which figure from history you want next, and if you love stories where the tide turns because one person refuses to back down, subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and fair winds until next time.